Good day, my name is Wong Zheng, metric number A202728. Today my speech title is No Excuses for Violence, Serious Juvenile Offenders Must be Tried as Adults. A violent crime occurs, a life is lost, a family is destroyed, a community is shaken. Yet years later, the offender walks free with limited consequences, simply because of age. This is not a rare exception. It is a serious flaw in the juvenile justice system. When juvenile commit serious crimes, age must not be used as a shield against accountability. Today, I argue that serious juvenile offenders must be tried as adults because the lack of accountability fuels rising crime rates, encourages repeated criminal behavior, and threatens public safety. To address this issue, legislative reform and preventive awareness efforts must be implemented. My concern became personal when I learned a tragic case in my own country. A 16-year-old student was stabbed to death by a 14-year-old classmate inside a school, a place meant for learning, safety, and future building. What disturbed me most was knowing that despite the severity of the crime, the offender would likely to avoid adult trial. That moment forced me to ask a difficult question. Does our justice system truly deliver justice, or does it excuse violence? Let us begin with the first major issue, the lack of accountability in the juvenile justice system. The juvenile justice system was originally created to focus on rehabilitation rather than punishment. This approach recognizes that youths differ from adults in brain development, impulse control, and emotional maturity. For minor offences, this philosophy is appropriate and necessary. However, the problem arises when juveniles commit serious and irreversible crimes such as murder, armed robbery, sexual assault, or gun-related violence. During adolescence, mistakes are common. But violent crimes are not simple mistakes. They are deliberate actions that cause permanent harm. In many of these cases, offenders understand the consequences of their actions, yet they exploit the juvenile system because they know the punishment will be lighter. This sends a dangerous message that serious crimes do not result in serious consequences if committed by a juvenile. According to the Council of Criminal Justice, juvenile homicide rates increased by 65% between 2006 and 2022. This rise suggests that leniency in serious cases has weakened deterrence. Instead of discouraging crime, the system may unintentionally encourage it by reducing accountability. When accountability is missing, justice becomes ineffective. The second issue is the long-term danger this lack of accountability poses to public safety. When juveniles who commit violent crimes face minimal punishment and are released early, the likelihood of reoffending is high. Rehabilitation alone is often insufficient for severe offenders. A study by Jacqueline Monique Nelson found that 65% of juveniles reoffended within the 3 years of release. This creates a revolving door effect, where offenders cycle through the system and commit increasingly serious crimes. These patterns place the entire communities at risk. Imagine knowing that someone who committed a violent offense has been released back into the neighborhood after a short rehabilitation period. Would you feel safe? Would you trust the justice system to protect you and your family? Over time, public confidence in the justice system erodes. When people perceive that violent offenders are treated more leniently than adults, faith in fairness disappears. A system that cannot protect its citizens ultimately fails its purpose. Despite these concerns, solutions do exist. The goal is not to treat all juveniles as adults, but to reform the law so that only juveniles who commit the most serious crimes can be tried as adults with strict safeguards. Crimes such as murder, armed violence, sexual assault, and terrorism-related offences should allow for transfer to adult courts after careful evaluation. Several jurisdictions have already taken steps towards this balanced approach. In parts of the United States, juveniles charged with gun-related crimes may be tried as adults. In India, authorities must assess within a short period whether offences aged 16 and above accused of heinous crimes should face adult trials. Safeguards are essential. Courts must consider mental maturity, understanding of consequences, criminal history, and whether juvenile rehabilitation alone is adequate. This ensures fairness while restoring accountability. Legal reform alone is not enough. Education and prevention must work alongside accountability. Awareness campaigns in schools can help youth understand the real and lifelong consequences of violent crime. When young people clearly see that serious actions lead to serious consequences, deterrence becomes stronger and tragedies can be prevented. In conclusion, rising juvenile crime is closely linked to a lack of accountability in the justice system. Leniency in serious cases encourages reoffending, threatens public safety, and weakens trust in justice. By advocating legislative reform, enforcing adult trials for serious juvenile offenders with safeguards, and promoting awareness and education, we can protect communities while maintaining fairness. Justice must protect the innocent, not excuse the violent. When the impact of crime in adults is in magnitude, the consequences must reflect that reality. Our future depends on it. Thank you.